I'm Mina. I never thought the person who would hurt me most would be my own sister. She humiliated me, not in private, but at her own wedding, in front of hundreds of people, our family, strangers, everyone. She joked about my divorce, erased me from every family photo, made me feel like I was nothing. But what she didn't know was that I'd spent years quietly collecting every lie, every betrayal, every secret she hoped no one would ever find. And the very next day, after the headlines exploded, she showed up at my door begging. How did I go from being the family's cautionary tale to the one holding all the power? The room smelled like polished silver and champagne. Everyone looked perfect. Teeth too white, laughter too loud, gowns too expensive. I stood at the entrance of the grand ballroom in Newport, Rhode Island, feeling like a guest at a party I was never really invited to, even though I had the same last name as half the people here. They glanced at me, smiled thinly, then looked away like I was background noise. Verena, my sister, was the star tonight, glowing in a custom gown, surrounded by people who treated her like royalty. I was the sister they rarely mentioned, the one who made different choices, as my mother liked to say when she thought I wasn't listening. When I finally made my way toward her, Verena spotted me and pasted on a smile like a mask. "Oh, Mina, you made it," she purred, her eyes scanning me up and down like I was an unexpected stain on her wedding carpet. "I wasn't sure you'd show." "Wouldn't miss it," I said flatly, ignoring the way our parents, Howard and Ellen, barely acknowledged me before turning back to Verena like moths to a flame. Her husband, Lucian, nodded at me politely, then looked past me, as if I were someone's assistant who'd accidentally walked into frame. A server handed me a champagne flute. I took a sip and scanned the room. Realized my place card was tucked at the farthest table, near great-aunts who couldn't remember my name. Of course. Out of sight, out of mind. The air shifted as the band quieted and Verena stood, tapping her glass with manicured fingers. She smiled sweetly at her guests. "If I could have your attention," she announced, voice smooth as silk. I felt it coming before she even spoke. "My dear family," she began, casting a glowing glance at everyone except me. "Some of you may know my sister Mina. She's had quite the journey." I froze. The crowd's attention turned, politely curious. Verena's smile sharpened. "She's taught me so much. Mostly, how not to end up divorced and miserable before 30. Laughter erupted around the room, not loud but sharp enough to cut. My parents smiled awkwardly, looking at their glasses. No one said a word in my defense. I stared at her, every muscle in my body burning. This wasn't the first time she'd tried to shrink me down to nothing. But tonight, something inside me shifted. I smiled tightly, raised my glass, and whispered under my breath, "You don't know it yet, Verena, but this is the night everything changes." I stayed seated at that far-off table, my champagne untouched, while the rest of the ballroom buzzed around me. The laughter still echoed in my head, sharp and clean like glass breaking. The photographers circled near the dance floor, gathering people for the family portrait. I heard them call out names: Howard, Ellen, Verena, Lucian, their voices like a roll call of who mattered. My name never left their lips. One of the waitstaff passed by, quietly dropping off a printed guest list for the photo session. I scanned it, already knowing my name wasn't there. The flashbulbs popped, capturing smiles that looked real but felt staged. I watched my parents beam at the camera, their arms around Verena, like they finally had the perfect family they'd always wanted. Without me. Astrid's message lit up my phone. "You're not even in the seating chart booklet." Of course I wasn't. I wasn't supposed to be here at all. I was the invisible sister who didn't fit. When dinner resumed, I glanced down at my place card again, shoved next to relatives I hadn't seen in 20 years. Some of them glanced at me like I was a stranger they couldn't place. I tried to eat, but the food felt like sand in my mouth. Then came the next blow. During dessert, one of my cousins, bless her awkward heart, walked over and handed me the microphone. "Mina, say a few words, your family." Before I could even touch the mic, Verena's voice sliced through the room. "Oh no," she said, her smile sugary sweet but her eyes cold. "We don't need any speeches tonight about heartbreak and bad luck." The entire room chuckled politely, some uncomfortably, but no one said a word to stop her. I glanced at my parents. Howard stared into his wine glass like it held the answers to life. Ellen avoided my eyes. The cousin who'd tried to hand me the mic quickly backed away, whispering, "Sorry, I thought—" It didn't matter. The message was clear. They didn't want me to speak. They didn't want me to be seen. But they forgot. Even silence can turn into a weapon. As the applause rippled across the tables, I sat perfectly still, the smile frozen on my face, and thought, they want me invisible. But when I finally speak, they won't be able to silence me again. The applause from inside faded as I stepped onto the terrace, needing air, needing space. The night was colder than I expected, sharp against my skin, cutting deeper than the laughter that still rang in my ears. I leaned against the railing, staring at the glittering skyline beyond the manicured gardens. How had I ended up here again, at the bottom of Verina's joke? It wasn't the first time she'd made me the punchline, but tonight, she'd done it in front of everyone. A server passed behind me, and I let the glass in my hand dangle loosely, fighting the urge to throw it over the edge. 3 years ago, I wouldn't have even been here. I was living paycheck to paycheck in a shoebox apartment in Dorchester, after Julian walked out on me like I was nothing but a bad investment. And when things got worse, when the bills piled up and my world caved in, Verina had shown up, not as a sister, but as a savior I hadn't asked for. She'd written me a check, her smile sweet but her words bitter. "You're lucky you have me, Mina. Not everyone gets bailed out of their messes." My parents had called it tough love. I called it a leash. I pulled my coat tighter around my shoulders, forcing myself to breathe. Inside, the party roared on. I could hear the clink of glasses, the swell of music, Verina's laugh like a siren call. I took one last breath and walked back in. The moment I stepped past the double doors, I heard her voice. She was at a table surrounded by a cluster of old family friends and business associates, the kind of people who smiled too hard and watched you like you were a stock price. "Oh, Mina wouldn't even be here tonight if I hadn't bailed her out when she hit rock bottom," Verina quipped, sipping her champagne as if she hadn't just gutted me in front of half the room. A few guests laughed nervously. Others avoided my gaze. My eyes flicked to my parents. Howard was busy adjusting his cufflinks, and Ellen stared at the tablecloth like she could disappear into it. No one said a word. I felt something inside me coil tighter than it ever had before. Something that had stayed quiet for too long. If they wanted to keep me small, they shouldn't have underestimated how much I can grow in silence. The music shifted just as I sat back down, my face carefully blank. The DJ's voice came over the speakers, too cheerful. "Ladies and gentlemen, before dessert, the bride has prepared a special video surprise." The lights dimmed. A hush fell over the room. I knew, instinctively, it wouldn't be good. The first few seconds were harmless enough. Clips of childhood birthdays, awkward family barbecues, Verina blowing out candles while I hovered quietly in the background. The laughter started small. Then the footage changed. Suddenly, there I was, 17 years old, braces and bad skin, tripping over my heels at prom. The next clip, me at a college party, clearly drunk, slurring lyrics to a pop song, while someone waved a red cup in front of my face. The last one hit hardest. My divorce announcement video call with my parents, my eyes red, voice cracking, subtitles added underneath. Once again, Mina fails spectacularly. The room erupted in laughter. It wasn't nervous laughter this time. It was entertained, delighted. A slow hollow burn spread in my chest. Verina's voice chimed in from the dark, sweet as honey. "Oh, Mina always knows how to lighten the mood." I glanced at Lucian. He looked away. Howard rubbed the back of his neck, pretending not to notice me. Ellen kept her smile frozen, like if she stopped, the whole charade would collapse. Astrid's text flashed across my phone. "You okay?" I wasn't. My throat tightened, my hands cold. It wasn't just tonight. It was every party, every holiday, every family gathering where I'd been the target, and Verina had been the golden child. They were all laughing because they believed her version of me. They'd rather laugh than see me. The applause rolled over the room as the video ended. Verina beamed, sipping her wine like nothing had happened. I stood quietly, adjusting my shawl over my shoulders, and walked toward the exit. Before stepping through the door, I glanced back at my sister, smiling in her perfect little world. "You've finally done it, Verina," I whispered, so no one could hear. Tomorrow, you'll learn what it feels like to be laughed at. The next morning, I woke to the sound of my phone vibrating nonstop on the nightstand. Missed calls, voicemails, all from the same two names, Howard and Ellen, my parents. I let the phone buzz until it stopped. Then it started again. By the fifth call, I gave in. I answered without a word. Their faces appeared on the screen, tight with frustration. Ellen spoke first, her voice sharp like she'd been rehearsing all night. "Mina, do you realize how selfish you were last night?" Howard nodded beside her, silent but stern. "You humiliated us," she continued. "You walked out in front of everyone. Do you know how that made us look?" My stomach turned, but I kept my face blank. "It's always something with you," Howard finally spoke. "You couldn't let your sister have her moment without making it about you." A bitter laugh almost slipped out of me. "Is that what you think? That I walked out because I wanted attention?" Ellen frowned, shaking her head like she was tired of the conversation already. "You've always been jealous, Mina. You can't stand seeing Verena happy." I bit back the heat rising in my throat. I'd heard this song before. Every time Verena burned the house down, I was the one they blamed for smelling the smoke. "You know what's funny?" I said quietly, holding their gaze. "You're more upset about me leaving than what she did to me." Ellen scoffed. "She didn't do anything. You're too sensitive." Howard added, "You've always been the difficult one." My hands curled into fists at my sides, but I smiled, calm and cold. "You might want to brace yourselves," I said evenly. "The perfect family image you care so much about, it's about to change." Ellen rolled her eyes. "Mina, don't be dramatic." Howard waved me off. "Just let it go." I ended the call without another word, staring at my reflection in the black screen of my phone. "You raised me to believe family is everything," I murmured to myself. "Let's see how much that belief holds when the truth hits the headlines." I didn't sleep that night. By sunrise, I was seated at my small kitchen table in Boston, a cup of black coffee untouched beside me. My laptop screen glowed cold in the dim light. Everything I'd spent months quietly collecting, financial statements, falsified invoices, internal emails Verena had foolishly copied me on over the years, sat organized in one folder. This wasn't rage anymore. It was precision. I opened a blank email, typed in two addresses, one for a senior investigative reporter at the Boston Herald, the other to a contact at the IRS whistleblower office. The subject line, fraudulent financial activity, Verena Mercer. I attached every file. A soft knock at my door made me pause. I knew it would be Astrid. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, her hair pulled back, dark circles under her eyes. She glanced at the screen, then at me. "You're really going to do it," she said quietly. I met her gaze. She left me no choice. Astrid sat across from me, her voice soft but firm. "Once you hit send, there's no coming back." "She made her choice at that wedding," I said, fingers hovering over the keyboard. "Now it's my turn." Without another word, I pressed send. For a moment, there was only silence between us. By mid-morning, my inbox lit up. A reply from the Herald's lead reporter. "We've reviewed the documents. Running the story tomorrow morning? Can you comment?" I closed the email. I didn't need to comment. The documents spoke for themselves. I powered off my phone, trying to ignore the adrenaline that ran sharp beneath my skin. Hours later, as I stood at my window, watching the gray afternoon fade into evening, my phone lit up again. Unknown number ta, New York. My breath caught. Verena Mercer was calling. I let the call from Verena ring out. She could wait. The next morning, my name was everywhere. The headlines screamed across every major outlet: Mercer wedding scandal, sister behind vicious attack. My social feeds were on fire. Hundreds of comments flooded in. Strangers accusing me of being bitter, jealous, unstable. Verena's team had moved fast. A press release framed me as an envious sister who'd fabricated documents out of spite. It was an impressive lie, almost believable. My phone buzzed again, this time a voicemail from my parents. I hit play. "You've embarrassed us beyond words," Ellen's voice snapped. "We raised you better than this, Mina. This isn't how family treats family." Howard's voice followed, cold and clipped. "Fix this." A text lit up next. "Julian, is any of this true? What the hell is going on? I stared at the screen for a long moment before locking the phone. Later that afternoon, Astrid slid into the cafe booth across from me, a large black coffee in hand. "You've seen it?" she asked. I nodded. On the mounted TV behind her, Verina's press conference streamed live. She stood perfectly composed, her face a picture of victimhood. "This isn't about me," Verina told the cameras. "It's about someone in pain, trying to ruin others' happiness. I forgive my sister." Astrid's lip curled. "She's playing saint." I met her eyes, steady. "She wants a public war?" I leaned back, voice ice cold. "Let's give her one." That night I opened my email again. This time I sent the reporter a second folder. Unedited statements, legal documents, Verina's own digital signature tying her to every fraudulent account. I wanted her lies burned into public record. Before midnight, I opened Twitter for the first time in years. I typed carefully, every word deliberate. "It's time you hear the real story. I won't stay silent anymore. #truth hurts." I hit post and smiled. By the time the morning sun scraped through the blinds, my phone was vibrating nonstop. News banners flashed on every screen. Mercer Empire under investigation. Scandal explodes after wedding. Tax fraud, embezzlement. Verina Mercer's dark secret revealed. My inbox was drowning. Missed calls, messages, strangers, reporters, distant relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Everyone wanted a comment. But the one knock I wasn't expecting came at noon. 3 sharp raps on my door. When I opened it, I barely recognized her. Verina stood there. No makeup, hair pulled back messily, dark circles bruised beneath her eyes. She wasn't the woman who had stood under chandeliers days ago, radiant and untouchable. Her shoulders slumped, her lips trembled. "Mina," her voice cracked. "Please." Before I could speak, she dropped to her knees right there in my doorway. "I'll do anything," she whispered. "Just make it stop." For a second, I couldn't move. The sister who had mocked me in front of hundreds was now crumbling like wet paper at my feet. Tears streaked her face. "Please, I was stupid. I didn't mean to. It's all falling apart. You've made your point." I wanted to feel something. Pity, triumph, rage. But all I felt was cold. I stood there, watching her unravel, until she finally gave up, wiped her eyes, and stumbled back to the elevator without another word. The moment the door clicked shut behind her, my phone vibrated again. A text from Julian. "I'm sorry." Another one followed. "I should have defended you back then. I was a coward." I sat on the edge of my bed, the messages blurring on the screen. Everyone who once ignored me was now looking straight at me, begging, apologizing, reaching for me like I was their last lifeline. I closed my eyes and breathed slowly. They all wanted something now. But I was the one holding the cards. The next morning, the world moved without mercy. Every news channel, every social media feed screamed the same thing. Mercer Group under investigation. Verina Mercer resigns amid scandal. Stocks plunge as tax fraud allegations. Rock Mercer family. I watched it all unfold from my couch, a mug of cold coffee in my hand. The anchors' voices were distant hums beneath the weight of everything that had already shattered. Verina released a statement by midday. Stiff, rehearsed, carefully worded. "I deeply regret any mistakes that have affected my family and business. Effective immediately, I am stepping down from all leadership positions at Mercer Group." Lucian filed for separation the same afternoon. The headlines called it amicable. I knew better. No one survives in that family without blood on their hands. Later that week, my parents released their own statement. Short, cold, generic. "We are heartbroken over recent events and hope for healing in our family." Healing. They wouldn't know what that meant if it knocked on their front door. A week passed before I walked back into their house in Newton. The same furniture, same polite air hanging stiff in the room. Ellen sat ramrod straight in the armchair, hands folded perfectly in her lap. Howard hovered by the fireplace, not meeting my gaze. "Thank you for coming," Ellen said, like I was a distant relative, not their daughter. No apology, no acknowledgement of years of cruelty, just awkward small talk about the weather, about nothing. When I finally stood to leave, I paused at the door and looked at them both. "You don't have to understand why I did it," I said quietly, "but one day, I hope you will." Howard shifted uncomfortably. Ellen's lips tightened, but neither spoke. Outside, the fall air bit cold against my skin as I walked away. Not angry, not bitter. Just done. Weeks later, Astrid and I signed the lease on a small office space in Cambridge. We named it Clear Path Foundation. Free financial education workshops for divorced and single women starting over. It wasn't much yet, but it was real. It was mine. The night we launched the website, my phone buzzed again. A message from Julian. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I stared at it for a long moment before deleting it without replying. Some things don't deserve a second chance. That night I stood on my balcony, the Boston skyline stretching wide in front of me, lights glittering like tiny promises. Justice felt good, but healing, that would take time, and this time, it would be on my terms. Before we end this story, let me leave you with something I've learned, something I wish I had understood a long time ago. For years, I let the people closest to me define my worth. I stayed quiet when they laughed at me, stayed small when they told me I wasn't enough. I thought family loyalty meant swallowing my pain to keep the peace. But the truth is, you don't owe anyone your silence, especially when that silence costs you your dignity. Sometimes, the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who hurt you the most. And when that happens, you have every right to stand up, to set boundaries, to reclaim your voice, no matter how uncomfortable it makes them. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about breaking free, about showing every person out there who's ever been pushed to the corner, humiliated, ignored, that your worth isn't measured by their approval. And now, I'd love to hear from you. Has anyone ever tried to shrink you, to make you feel invisible? What would you do if you were in my shoes? If this story touched you or made you think differently about family, drop a #1 in the comments or tell me where you're watching from. And if you didn't like the video, that's okay too. Let me know why. I want to hear your thoughts, your stories, your truth. And don't forget, if you want to hear more real stories like this, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next one.
Hey there, I'm Olivia Johnson, 28 years old and a proud elementary school teacher. Let me paint you a picture of my life. Teaching third graders is my passion, but lately, home has been way more stressful than managing a classroom full of kids. It all started 3 years ago when my dad, Tom, married Karen. At first, I was hopeful, a new mom, new siblings, Brad and Megan. It could have been great, right? Wrong. From day one, something was off. Karen had this sugary sweet exterior, but there was always this undercurrent of dismissiveness, like I was just an afterthought. Olivia, sweetie, she'd say, her voice thick with fake concern. Are you sure you want to wear that to dinner? It's just, never mind. And suddenly, I feel like a kid playing dress up, questioning my own choices. But I brushed it off, determined to make this blended family work. Then there were Karen's golden children. Brad, 30, some big shot in finance, and Megan, 26, supposedly the next big thing in fashion design. And me? Just the stepdaughter who taught third grade, hardly worth mentioning. Last week, though, things went from mildly irritating to downright bizarre. Karen announced a fancy dinner party to celebrate Brad's big promotion. When I walked in, the house had been transformed, fancy tablecloths, crystal glasses, the works. Karen, Brad, and Megan were dressed to the nines, like they were about to hit a red carpet. Dad looked uncomfortable, stuffed into a suit that was definitely Karen's choice. We all sat down to eat, and that's when things got weird. The smell from my plate was off. Everyone else had gourmet-looking steaks, but my plate was piled high with this mushy brown stuff. Karen, I started, but she cut me off. Now, Olivia, no fuss. I'm sure it's delicious. Bon appetit, she chimed, all false sweetness. I took a hesitant bite and immediately gagged. The taste, it couldn't be, but as I glanced around the table, seeing Brad and Megan's smirking faces, Karen's innocent expression, and Dad's cluelessness, it hit me. Dog food. They were feeding me actual dog food. That was the final straw. As I sat there, humiliation burning through me, I realized this wasn't just petty anymore. This was cruel, calculated. I wasn't going to be their family punching bag any longer. I stood up, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. All eyes turned to me, a mix of confusion, amusement, and Karen's fake concern. Olivia? Dad finally spoke up. Is everything okay? I looked from him to Karen, then to my smug step-siblings, and made a decision. This ended now. No, I said, my voice steady despite the anger boiling inside. No, everything is not okay. The tension in the room spiked. Karen's saccharine smile faltered for a split second before she regained her composure. Olivia, darling, she cooed. Whatever do you mean? I took a deep breath. This, I gestured to my plate, is dog food. You serve me dog food while everyone else gets a gourmet meal. The room erupted. Brad and Megan burst into laughter, making no effort to hide their amusement. Dad looked bewildered, darting his eyes between me and Karen. As for Karen, she gasped dramatically. Oh my, how could this have happened? She exclaimed, hand to her chest. I must have mixed up the plates. What a silly mistake. But I wasn't buying it. The glint in her eye told me everything I needed to know. This was no accident. Cut the act, Karen, I said, my voice firm. This isn't the first time you've tried to humiliate me, but it will be the last. I turned to my dad, hoping, just hoping, for some recognition, some support. In my dad's eyes, I could see nothing but confusion. He just sat there, lost and uncomfortable. Dad, I pleaded, desperation creeping into my voice, can't you see what's happening? How long are you going to let this go on? Before he could answer, Brad cut in, his tone dripping with mockery. Oh, come on, Olivia. Learn to take a joke. You're always so sensitive. Megan chimed in, nodding along with a smirk. Yeah, it's not our fault you can't handle a little family fun. Family fun? My cheeks burned with a mix of anger and humiliation. This was their idea of fun, treating me like I was beneath them, less than human. In that moment, something inside me snapped. For years, I had tried to fit in, to be the perfect stepdaughter, to make this blended family work. But enough was enough. Fun? I said, my voice rising. You think this is fun, treating me like this, making me feel unwelcome in my own family? Well, congratulations. You've succeeded. I'm done. I grabbed my purse and marched toward the door, ignoring Karen's protests and my dad's weak attempts to call me back. As I drove home, my mind raced. This couldn't go on any longer. Something had to change, but what? How could I make them see the truth about Karen and her manipulative kids? How could I wake my dad up to the reality of the situation? One thing was clear. I couldn't do this alone. I needed help, and I knew just who to call. My best friend, Rachel, had always been there for me, and right now, I needed her more than ever. Pulling into my driveway, hands trembling, I reached for my phone. It was time to fight back, to expose the truth about my so-called family. Rachel's voice crackled through the phone, filled with concern. Olivia, that's awful. We have to do something about this. Her words were like a lifeline, pulling me out of the pit of despair I'd been sinking into. You're right, I said, feeling determination slowly replace my anger. But how? We investigate, Rachel said, a spark of excitement in her tone. If Karen's capable of this, who knows what else she's hiding? That conversation lit a fire in me. The next day, I started my secret mission. I kept a detailed log of every interaction, every snide comment, every mistake that always seemed to target me. But as I dug deeper, I uncovered something far more sinister than I ever expected. It began with a misplaced bank statement. Dad had always been meticulous with his finances, but lately he seemed distracted, less in control. The statement showed large transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. My curiosity piqued. I did some digging. What I found made my blood run cold. Karen had been siphoning money from my dad's accounts, slowly draining his life savings. And that was just the beginning. One evening, I overheard Brad on the phone, his voice low and urgent. We need to move the money now. The feds are getting too close. The feds? What had Brad gotten himself into? I called in a favor from a friend who worked in finance, and what she told me left me reeling. Brad's big promotion was a lie. He was knee-deep in a Ponzi scheme, using my dad's stolen money to keep it afloat. As for Megan, her designer clothes and flashy lifestyle suddenly made sense. A little more digging revealed she had been embezzling from her workplace, funneling the stolen money into high-stakes online gambling. The pieces were falling into place, and the picture they painted was horrifying. My entire family was built on lies, manipulation, and greed. I felt sick. How could I have been so blind? How could my dad not see what was happening right under his nose? But as the shock wore off, it was replaced by a new emotion: rage. Pure, white-hot rage. I called Rachel, my voice shaking with anger and disbelief. "You won't believe what I found out," I said, spilling everything. When I finished, there was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Olivia," Rachel said, her voice steely with resolve. "We need to take these people down." In that moment, something shifted inside me. I was done being the victim, done letting Karen and her family walk all over me and my dad. "You're right," I said, a plan already forming in my mind. "And I know exactly how we're going to do it." As I hung up the phone, a surge of energy rushed through me. The game had changed. No more playing nice, no more turning the other cheek. It was time for Olivia Johnson to fight back. And this time, I was playing for keeps. The day of reckoning dawned bright and clear. With Rachel by my side, we put our plan into action. First stop, Brad's company. "I have information about fraudulent activities within your organization," I said, my voice disguised as I spoke to the ethics hotline. I provided just enough details to set their investigators on the right path. Next, we tackled Megan's workplace. An anonymous email, backed with carefully chosen evidence of her embezzlement, landed directly in her boss's inbox. But the hardest part came last. Dad. I found him in his study, looking older and more worn than I had ever seen him. "Dad," I began gently, "we need to talk." For the next hour, I laid everything bare: Karen's financial manipulations, Brad's Ponzi scheme, Megan's theft. With each revelation, I watched the scales fall from his eyes. I can't believe this," he whispered, his voice breaking. "How could I have been so blind?" "It's not your fault, Dad," I assured him. "But now that you know, what are you going to do?" His response was immediate and resolute. "I'm ending this. All of it." The following weeks were a whirlwind. Brad was arrested at his office, let out in handcuffs as his Ponzi scheme unraveled. Megan was fired and charged with embezzlement, her glamorous lifestyle crumbling around her. Karen, suddenly without her financial safety net and facing my father's firm decision to divorce, was forced to move out. The last I heard, she was living in a small apartment, her grand schemes reduced to nothing but dust. As for Dad and me, we began the long process of rebuilding our relationship. It wasn't easy. There were tough conversations, tears, moments of frustration. But with every passing day, we grew closer, stronger. Months passed. I threw myself into teaching, finding joy in my students' progress and in the supportive community I had built at school. Rachel, as always, remained my rock, ready with a listening ear or a word of encouragement. One sunny afternoon, as Dad and I sat on the porch of our now peaceful home, he turned to me with a smile. "You know, Olivia," he said, "I'm proud of you, not just for uncovering the truth, but for the person you've become despite everything." I felt warmth spread through my chest. "Thanks, Dad. I'm just glad we're here now." As we sat there, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I realized something profound. The family I had longed for, the acceptance I had craved. I had it all along. It just took removing the toxic influences to see it clearly. My story isn't one of revenge, but of justice and personal growth. I didn't just survive, I thrived. And as I looked toward the future, I knew the best was yet to come. Now I have a question for you. If you were in Olivia's shoes, would you have exposed your toxic family members, knowing it could potentially destroy your relationship with your father? Or would you have stayed quiet to maintain family peace? Share your thoughts in the comments below, your perspective. Hey everyone, I'm Olivia. I'm 25, working hard to become a nurse, and living with my grandpa, who's been pretty sick lately. It's been tough, especially since my dad passed away 5 years ago. That's when everything changed. My stepmom, Sandra, completely flipped. After Dad died, it was like she ripped off a mask and revealed who she really was: cold and strict, barely acknowledging me. But when it came to her precious daughter, Megan, oh, that was a different story. Megan, my 22-year-old stepsister, is the apple of Sandra's eye. Everything's always about Megan. New clothes, fancy dinners, while I'm barely scraping by, working a part-time job in the hospital cafeteria. "Olivia, why can't you be more like Megan?" Sandra would say, her voice dripping with disappointment. "She's going places, unlike some people." I just roll my eyes and head to Grandpa's room. He's been my anchor through all this chaos. We'd spend hours together, him telling me stories about Dad when he was young, and me sharing my dreams of becoming a nurse. You've got your father's heart, Liv. Don't let anyone dim your light, he'd always tell me. Thankfully, I have my best friend Jasmine and my boyfriend Tyler. They've been my lifeline, especially when things get tough at home. Girl, you need to get out of that toxic house, Jasmine would say over coffee. Sandra's a piece of work. Tyler's always there with a hug and a pep talk. You're stronger than you think, Liv. You've got this. But juggling everything feels like walking a tightrope. I'm up at dawn to check on Grandpa before my shift at the hospital. Then it's off to classes, squeezing in study time whenever I can. After work, I rush home to cook dinner for Grandpa while Sandra and Megan waltz in from their shopping sprees. Oh, you're still here, Sandra would say, like I was a guest in my own home. One night, just as I was about to collapse into bed, I heard a loud thud from Grandpa's room. My heart dropped. Grandpa. I called out, rushing to his door. No answer. I burst in to find him on the floor, barely conscious. Oh my God, Grandpa. I cried, fumbling for my phone to dial 911. Stay with me, please, I whispered, holding his hand as the sirens blared in the distance. The ambulance ride was a blur. I stayed by Grandpa's side, whispering, "You're going to be okay," over and over. At the hospital, they whisked him away, leaving me pacing the waiting room for what felt like hours. Finally, a doctor came over. "Your grandfather's condition is critical. I'm afraid he doesn't have much time left. You should prepare yourself." It felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. Just then, Sandra and Megan strolled in, looking like they had been interrupted at the spa. "What's the situation?" Sandra asked, not even glancing at me. Through gritted teeth, I explained. Megan huffed, glancing at her phone. "Great, now I'm going to miss my surprise party." Sandra patted Megan's arm. "Don't worry, honey, we'll make sure you don't miss a thing." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious right now? Grandpa is dying." Sandra's eyes narrowed, and she grabbed my arm, dragging me into a corner. "Listen, Olivia, you need to go home and handle Megan's party." "What? No way, I'm staying with Grandpa." "This is not a request. Megan's friends are already on their way. You will go home and make sure everything is perfect." I yanked my arm free. "Absolutely not. Grandpa needs me." Her voice turned icy. "You ungrateful little brat. After everything we've done for you, everything you've done, you've made my life hell since Dad died. You will do as I say, or so help me." That's when I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Is everything okay here?" It was Tyler. Thank God. Sandra's demeanor changed instantly, turning all syrupy sweet. "Oh, Tyler, how nice of you to come. We're just having a little family discussion." Tyler wasn't buying it. He wrapped his arm around me and asked, "Liv, what's going on?" Before I could speak, Sandra cut in. "Olivia was just leaving to take care of some family business, weren't you, dear?" I squared my shoulders. "No, I wasn't. I'm staying with Grandpa." Sandra's face twisted with rage. "If you don't leave right now, you can consider yourself cut off. No more roof over your head. No more college fund. Nothing." Tyler tensed beside me. "You can't do that." "Watch me," Sandra hissed. My mind raced. Everything I had worked for, my future, my home, was at risk. But then I thought of Grandpa, lying there alone. "Fine," I said, my voice shaking. "Do whatever you want. I'm staying." Sandra's eyes narrowed into slits. "You'll regret this, Olivia. Don't come crawling back when you're out on the streets." She spun on her heel, dragging a protesting Megan with her. Tyler squeezed my shoulder. "You did the right thing, Liv." But as we walked back to Grandpa's room, the weight of what had just happened hit me. I might have lost everything. What was I going to do now? The next morning, I was exhausted, having spent the night in an uncomfortable hospital chair, holding Grandpa's hand. Jasmine showed up with coffee and a sympathetic ear. "She did what?" Jasmine exclaimed when I told her about Sandra's ultimatum. "That witch." I nodded, fighting back tears. "I don't know what I'm going to do, Jazz. I can't afford rent on my own, let alone tuition." Jasmine's eyes lit up. "Wait a second. Remember when you mentioned Sandra acting weird about the family business? Maybe there's something there." We spent the next few hours huddled over Jasmine's laptop, digging into the business finances. What we found made my blood run cold. "Look at these transfers," Jasmine pointed out, her finger hovering over the screen. Large sums were being moved into an offshore account, all authorized by Sandra. My hands shook as I scrolled through the documents. She's been stealing from the company, stealing from us. But that wasn't all. As we dug deeper, we found something even worse. Liv, look at this, Jasmine said in a hushed voice. Your dad's will. The date it was changed, just days before he died. I felt sick. She must have pressured him when he was too weak to resist. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Tyler. Liv, you're not going to believe what I found. He had been looking into Sandra's past. It turned out my stepmom had a history of marrying wealthy men, draining their accounts, and moving on to the next victim. She's done this before, Liv, 3 times. I was reeling from all these revelations when a text from Megan popped up. Thanks for ruining my party. Mom told everyone what a selfish cow you are. I couldn't even feel angry. I was just tired. That night, Grandpa took a turn for the worse. I was by his side, holding his hand as he took his last breath. I love you, Grandpa, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. The funeral was a blur. Sandra put on a big show, wailing and carrying on. But I caught her checking her watch, clearly rushing the proceedings. As people started to leave, I overheard her talking to Megan near the refreshment table. Don't worry, sweetie. Once we sell the house and the business, we'll have plenty to set you up in that apartment in the city. My fists clenched. They were planning to sell everything. Over my dead body. I slipped away, my mind racing. I had the evidence of Sandra's embezzlement and I knew about her past. But how could I use it? That's when I spotted my dad's old business partner, Mr. Johnson, standing somberly by the exit. An idea started to form. Maybe, just maybe, I could turn this around. I took a deep breath and walked over to him. Mr. Johnson, there's something I need to talk to you about. It's about the family business. His eyebrows raised. Oh, what about it, Olivia? I glanced over my shoulder, making sure Sandra wasn't within earshot. Not here. Can we meet tomorrow? It's important. He must have seen the urgency in my eyes because he nodded. Of course. My office, 9 a.m. I nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in days. I'll be there. As I walked away, I caught Sandra's suspicious gaze. Let her wonder. Her time was running out. The next morning, I met Mr. Johnson at his office. His face grew grim as I laid out everything we'd discovered of Sandra's embezzlement. I suspected something was off. But this is beyond what I imagined, Mr. Johnson said, shaking his head. We hatched a plan. He would approach Sandra with a fake business opportunity, one too tempting for someone like her to resist. A week later, we set the trap. Sandra waltzed into the conference room, Megan in tow. So what's this golden opportunity? Sandra purred, her eyes gleaming. Mr. Johnson laid out the bait. A chance to invest in a new venture with guaranteed high returns. All she had to do was transfer a large sum from the family business account. Of course, we'll need to move quickly, he added. The window of opportunity is small. Sandra barely hesitated. Let's do it. I'll make the transfer right now. The moment she hit send on her laptop, the door burst open. In walked the board members and a detective. Sandra Thompson, you're under arrest for embezzlement and fraud, the detective announced. The color drained from Sandra's face. This is ridiculous. I haven't done anything wrong. But the evidence was irrefutable. As they led her away, Megan turned to me, shock written all over her face. Olivia, I had no idea. I'm so sorry for everything. I looked at her, feeling nothing but exhaustion. Save it, Megan, we're done. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. The board fired Sandra and pressed charges. Then came the bombshell. Grandpa had left me his share of the business. He always believed in you, Olivia, Mr. Johnson said as he handed over the paperwork. Sandra's carefully crafted world crumbled. Her high society friends deserted her, horrified by the scandal. Last I heard, she was facing serious jail time. Megan didn't fare much better. Cut off from Sandra's ill-gotten gains, she had to drop out of her fancy college. She tried reaching out to me a few more times, but I blocked her number. Some bridges stay burned. As for me, I threw myself into my studies. With my inheritance secure, I could focus on becoming the nurse I'd always dreamed of being. Jasmine and Tyler were my rocks through it all. See, I told you, you're stronger than you knew, Tyler said one night as we celebrated me acing a tough exam. Jasmine raised her glass. To Olivia, the baddest nurse to be in town. We laughed, and for the first time in years, I felt light, free. A few months later, I visited Dad and Grandpa's graves. As I laid flowers down, a sense of peace washed over me. I did it, guys, I whispered. I made it through. Fast forward to today. I'm thriving in my career at the city's top hospital. The family business is doing better than ever under Mr. Johnson's guidance, with me learning the ropes on the side. As for Sandra and Megan, I caught a news report the other day. Sandra's still tied up in legal battles, trying to appeal her sentence. Megan's struggling to find work, the scandal following her like a bad smell. Me, I'm just getting started. Life threw me some serious curveballs, but I came out swinging. And you know what? I wouldn't change a thing. Every struggle, every betrayal, it all led me here. Stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever comes next. Now, I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have given Megan a second chance? Or do you think cutting ties completely was the right move? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences and opinions matter. They might help someone else facing a similar situation. And if you enjoyed this story and want to hear more like it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me and helps me continue sharing these real-life experiences. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey there, I'm Sarah Thompson, a 28-year-old accountant from the suburbs of Chicago. I was sitting at my desk, crunching numbers like any other day when my phone rang. It was a real estate agent asking about the sale of my grandma's house. Confused, I thought, what? That house has been in our family for generations, and as far as I knew, it wasn't for sale. I'm sorry, there must be some mistake. That house isn't on the market, I told the agent, my heart racing. Ma'am, I have the paperwork right here with your signature. My signature? Now I knew something was seriously wrong. I thanked the agent and hung up, my mind spinning. Immediately, I called my sister, Emma. Hey, Em, quick question. You haven't heard anything about Grandma's house being sold, have you? There was a pause on the other end, too long of a pause. Oh, that? Yeah, I was meaning to tell you about that. It's no big deal. Really? No big deal? My blood started to boil. Emma had always been the golden child in the family, but this was crossing a line. How could she do something like this without even telling me? I couldn't sleep that night, my mind consumed with thoughts of Emma's betrayal. The next morning, I called Michael, my best friend, and filled him in on everything. This is serious, Sarah. We need to gather evidence, he said, his lawyer instincts kicking in. You're right, I'm going to start digging. Over the next few days, I became a detective. First stop, the lawyer's office where the sale documents were signed. I managed to charm the receptionist into showing me the security footage. Oh, honey, I remember that day, she said as we watched the tape. Your sister seemed off, kept looking over her shoulder. And there was Emma, nervously signing the papers, alone. Next, I tracked down the real estate agent who had called me. Yeah, something didn't sit right with me, he admitted. Your sister was pushy, wanted everything done fast. And when I asked about you, she got all cagey. Armed with this information, I decided to confront Emma at our weekly family dinner. As we sat down to eat, I couldn't hold back any longer. So, Emma, how's the house sale going? I asked casually, though my heart was pounding. The room fell silent. Emma's fork clattered onto her plate. What are you talking about? Mom asked, looking confused. Oh, didn't Emma tell you? She sold Grandma's house without my permission. Dad's eyes widened. Is this true, Emma? Emma's face turned crimson. Fine, yes, I sold it. But I had to. You forged my signature, I shouted. You don't understand. I needed the money. I've sacrificed so much for this family. Mom jumped in. Emma, honey, what do you mean? I've always put this family first. I turned down job offers to stay close to home. I've been helping with the bills. And what has Sarah done? Run off to her fancy job and boyfriend. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you kidding me? You've been stealing from Mom and Dad for years. Emma's face went pale. That's not true. Oh, really? Then explain the missing money from their accounts, the mysterious charges. Dad looked shocked. Emma, is this true? Emma burst into tears. You don't understand. I had debts. Uncle Frank said his investment was a sure thing. The truth came pouring out. Emma had been involved in Uncle Frank's shady schemes, losing thousands. She'd been stealing to cover her losses. And let's not forget how you sabotaged my job interviews, I added, the anger building inside me. What? I never. Cut the crap, Emma. I know you called and gave bad references. You couldn't stand the thought of me being successful, I said, my voice shaking with anger. The room erupted into chaos. Mom was crying, Dad looked shell-shocked, and Emma frantically tried to defend herself. You're blowing this out of proportion. I did what I had to do. Mom, Dad, you understand, right? To my disbelief, Mom nodded. Sarah, maybe you're being too harsh. Emma's clearly been struggling. I couldn't take it anymore. I stormed out, ignoring their calls for me to come back. Later that night, I sat with Michael, feeling completely drained. I can't believe they're still defending her, I said, fighting back tears. Michael squeezed my hand. We'll figure this out. I've got a buddy who's a handwriting expert. We'll prove the forgery. I nodded, a plan forming in my mind. And I'm going to talk to Uncle Frank. He might be shady, but he owes me the truth. That night, lying in bed, I felt a mix of sadness and determination. My family might have betrayed me, but I wasn't going to let Emma get away with this. Game on, sis, I whispered to myself. You have no idea what's coming. Emma had always been manipulative, but I never thought she'd go this far. It was time to beat her at her own game. The next day, I called her up, trying to sound casual. Hey, Em, can we talk? I've been thinking about everything and maybe I overreacted. Really? She replied, sounding suspicious. Yeah. I mean, family's family, right? Let's grab coffee and talk it out. Over the next few weeks, I played the role of the forgiving sister. It wasn't easy, but I had to gain her trust. Meanwhile, Michael was putting our plan into action. At a family barbecue, Michael casually approached Emma. I heard Uncle Frank's old cabin might be on the market. I've always liked that place. Emma's eyes lit up. Oh yeah, it's a great property. I could help you with that. That'd be awesome. Maybe we could discuss it privately sometime, Michael said, watching as Emma fell right into our trap. Uncle Frank, surprisingly, was in on it too. I'm sorry, kid, he told me when I confronted him. I never meant for it to go this far. I'll help you make it right. We set up a meeting between Emma and Uncle Frank, with Frank wearing a wire. So about that cabin deal, Emma said, not realizing she was being recorded. We could easily inflate the price. Sarah doesn't need to know the real value. What about your parents? Frank asked, fishing for more. Please, Emma scoffed. They're clueless. Dad's too passive to question anything, and Mom, well, she always takes my side. I felt sick listening to the recording later, but I knew we needed more. That's when I came up with the idea of the family heirloom. I casually mentioned to Emma that I found Grandma's old diamond necklace. It must be worth a fortune, I said, watching her eyes gleam. I'm keeping it in my desk drawer for now. A few days later, Mom called me in a panic. Sarah, I caught Emma going through your room. She said she was looking for an old photo, but she seemed so nervous. Everything was falling into place. Then Dad overheard Emma on the phone, talking about selling the necklace. He was devastated. Finally, it was time for the big reveal. We called a family meeting, supposedly to clear the air. Emma walked in, looking smug. Before anyone could say a word, I stood up. Before we start, I said, there's something you all need to hear. I played the recordings, showed the financial records, and presented statements from people Emma had manipulated over the years. Her face went from confusion to anger, then to fear. You set me up, she screamed. No, Emma, I said, my voice steady. You did this to yourself. As the evidence mounted, her facade cracked completely. You think you're so perfect, don't you? Emma spat, her eyes blazing with fury. Little Miss Sarah, always doing everything right. You have no idea what it's like living in your shadow. I deserve that money, that house, everything. Her venomous rant left everyone in the room stunned. Mom sobbed quietly, Dad looked utterly broken, and Uncle Frank couldn't even bring himself to meet my eyes. Emma, hurling insults and threats, stormed out, slamming the door behind her. As the door shut, I felt an immense weight lift off my shoulders. The truth was finally out. Looking at my shattered family, I knew things would never be the same. But for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. The mask Emma had worn for so long was off. And now we all had to face the harsh reality of who she really was. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of emotions, as if we were all waking up from a long, confusing dream. "We're so sorry, Sarah," Dad said one evening, his voice thick with regret. "We should have seen it sooner." Mom, her eyes filled with tears, nodded. "We let Emma manipulate us for years. Can you ever forgive us?" I appreciated their apology, but the wounds ran deep. "I understand," I said softly. "But I think we all need some space to process this." As for Emma, karma hit hard. The forged documents for Grandma's house were nullified, and the property was rightfully returned to me. Michael, ever the lawyer, was in full swing as he laid out the consequences to her. "You're facing some serious charges: fraud, forgery, theft. It's not looking good, Emma," he said. Emma's face was a twisted mix of anger and fear. "This isn't fair. I was just trying to." "Save it for the judge," I cut her off coldly. Uncle Frank, trying to save his own skin, had spilled everything about their shady dealings, and Emma's web of lies was unraveling fast. In the end, Emma was slapped with probation and hefty fines. She avoided jail, but her life was in shambles. She lost her job, her friends, everything. As for me, I decided it was time for a fresh start. I moved into Grandma's house, determined to honor her memory the right way. "It's beautiful," Michael said as we unpacked boxes. He paused, looking around the cozy space. "You know, this could be a great place to start our life together." I turned to him, surprised. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Without another word, he dropped to one knee, right there in the middle of the chaos. "Sarah Thompson, will you marry me?" Through happy tears, I said yes. Life started looking up after that. I got a promotion at work, throwing myself into new projects with renewed energy. Meanwhile, Emma's life became a cautionary tale. The last I heard, she was living in a tiny apartment, struggling to make ends meet. Part of me felt sad, but a bigger part of me knew she was finally facing the consequences of her own actions. The story has come to an end now, but I have a question for you. If you were in Sarah's shoes, would you ever forgive Emma and your parents for their betrayal? Or do you believe that some actions are truly unforgivable, even when it comes to family? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences and opinions matter, and they might help others dealing with similar situations. If you enjoyed this story of family drama and justice, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want to hear more stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey everyone, I'm Miriam. I'm 28, working hard as a junior accountant at a local firm. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. I come from this big, loud family that's always gone on and on about how tight we are. "Family first," they'd say. Yeah, right. Anyway, my life took a crazy turn when I met James at this charity event. He was tall, dark, and handsome, the whole package, and as I found out later, loaded. We hit it off right away. Miriam, you won't believe this. My mom squealed when I told her about James. Our little girl dating a businessman. At first, everyone was over the moon. Aunt Linda was already planning our wedding. "We'll have it in the backyard," she said, "save on venue costs." But things changed once they realized how successful James really was. That's when it started to get weird. James and I fell hard for each other, and within a year, we were saying "I do." The wedding was perfect, except for the odd looks I kept getting from some of my relatives. After the honeymoon, James dropped a bombshell. "Miriam, how would you like to work for me? I could really use someone with your skills." I was floored. "Are you serious? That would be amazing." But when I told my family, you'd think I committed a crime. "Oh, so now you're too good for your old job?" My cousin Tom sneered. "Don't forget where you came from," Uncle Robert warned. It hurt, but I tried to brush it off. I was happy in love, and my career was taking off. Who cared what they thought? Then, Grandma passed away. It hit me hard. She had always been my biggest supporter. But at the will reading, I got the shock of my life. "To my granddaughter, Miriam, I leave." The lawyer paused, flipping through papers. Nothing. "What?" I gasped. There had to be a mistake. Aunt Karen's voice was dripping with venom. "No mistake. You're not real family anymore, Miriam. You've changed." "Yeah," Uncle Robert chimed in. "You've got your rich husband now. What do you need Grandma's stuff for?" I couldn't believe it. My own family cutting me out because I married well and got a good job. It felt like a bad dream. I'm still me, I protested. I haven't changed. Save it, Miriam, cousin Sarah snapped. Go back to your mansion and your fancy job. You don't belong here anymore. I left that reading in a daze, my world turned upside down. The family I thought I could always count on had just shown their true colors. And they were ugly as hell. As I drove home, tears streaming down my face, I realized this was just the beginning. My so-called family had drawn a line in the sand, and I was on the wrong side of it. But if they thought I was going to roll over and take this, they had another thing coming. I decided to confront my family head-on. Big mistake. Can we talk about what happened at the will reading? I asked Aunt Karen over the phone. There's nothing to discuss, Miriam. You made your choice when you married into money. I'm still part of this family. I tried to reason with her. I haven't changed. Save your breath. We all know you think you're better than us now. And with that, she hung up on me. Unbelievable. I tried reaching out to others, but I kept hitting a brick wall, cold shoulders, snide remarks, you name it. Then, out of the blue, I got a text from Sarah. Meet me at Joe's Diner. 3 p.m. Come alone. When I got there, Sarah was a bundle of nerves. Miriam, I can't take it anymore. You need to know the truth. What truth? She leaned in and whispered, Uncle Robert, he's behind all of this. My jaw dropped. What do you mean? He convinced Grandma to change her will just weeks before she died. Said he didn't need the money anymore. I couldn't believe it. But why? Sarah's eyes darted around nervously. He's been embezzling from the family business for years. He needed to cover his tracks. My head was spinning. Uncle Robert, the family's golden boy, a thief. There's more, Sarah continued. He's been turning everyone against you, spreading rumors, twisting your words. It all started to make sense, the cold shoulders, the nasty remarks. Thanks for telling me, Sarah, but why are you risking this? Sarah asked, a sad smile on her face. Because it's not right, and I miss my cousin. As the days passed, I noticed more and more family members ghosting me. Even Lisa, my ride or die since kindergarten, stopped returning my calls. Lisa, it's me again. Can we please talk? Straight to voicemail. I tried reaching out to my parents, hoping they'd take my side. Mom, Dad, you can't seriously be okay with this. Dad sighed. Honey, maybe it's best to let sleeping dogs lie for the sake of family peace. Family peace. They're treating me like a pariah. Mom patted my hand. It'll blow over, sweetie. Just give it time. I couldn't believe it. Even my own parents were choosing the path of least resistance. Weeks later, I caught wind of a family gathering. No invite for me, of course. Still, I decided to swing by, hoping to catch someone willing to talk. As I approached the house, I heard raised voices coming from the backyard. I crept closer, hiding behind the fence. Selling the business is our only option. Uncle Robert's voice carried over. Aunt Karen sounded panicked. But what about our jobs? The family legacy. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made, Robert replied smoothly. Besides, with the sale, I'll be able to redistribute some assets. My blood ran cold. He was planning to sell the family business, the one my grandfather built from the ground up. But Robert, another voice chimed in. What about the other employees? Our cousins, nephews, nieces. Collateral damage. Robert dismissed. They'll find other jobs. I'd heard enough. My hands shook as I snuck away. Robert wasn't just content with turning the family against me. He was ready to throw everyone under the bus to save his own skin. As I drove home, my mind raced. I had to do something, but what? I was the family outcast now. Who would believe me? One thing was clear. The Uncle Robert I thought I knew was a fraud, and I needed to expose him before he destroyed everything our family had built. I couldn't just sit back and watch Robert ruin everything. I had to act, but I needed to be smart about it. That's when I hatched my plan. James, honey, I need a favor, I said one night over dinner. What's up, babe? I need access to some financial analysis tools. It's for a personal project. James raised an eyebrow but didn't press. Just be careful, okay. With those tools, I started digging, but I needed more. So I reached out to my old buddy Mike from my previous accounting gig. Mike, I need your help. Off the books. Miriam, it's been ages. What's going on? I spilled the beans about Robert's embezzlement. That sleazeball. Count me in. For weeks, we pored over financial records, tracing every cent. But we needed an inside track, and that's where Cindy, Robert's assistant, came in. I accidentally bumped into her at the coffee shop near their office. Oh my gosh, Cindy, it's been forever. We got to chatting, and soon we were having regular coffee dates. I started fishing for info. So how's work? Is Uncle Robert keeping you busy? Cindy rolled her eyes. Girl, you have no idea. The late nights, the secret meetings, something big's going down. Jackpot. Meanwhile, at James's company, things were heating up. Miriam, we're on the verge of losing our biggest client, Megacorp. We need this deal. Our entire key forward depends on it, James said, stress evident in his voice. I spent nights poring over their financials, finding ways to sweeten the deal. Finally, I called a meeting with Megacorp's CFO. Listen, Bob, I know you've got other offers, but look at these projections. I laid out my plan, showing how our partnership could boost their profits by 30% in the first year alone. Bob's eyes widened. Dan, Miriam, this is impressive. We sealed the deal that afternoon. James was over the moon. Miriam, you just saved our asses. How would you like to be our new CFO? I was floored. Are you serious? Dead serious. You've more than earned it. News of my promotion spread like wildfire. Suddenly, my phone was blowing up with messages from family members who'd been ghosting me for months. Congrats, cuz. We should catch up, texted Lisa. Aunt Karen called, all sugary sweet. Miriam, darling, we're so proud of you. I kept my responses polite but brief. I had bigger fish to fry. Finally, after weeks of late nights and secret meetings, I had everything I needed. Financial records, witness statements, and recordings of Robert's shady deals. I sat at my desk, staring at the mountain of evidence. This was it, the moment of truth. I picked up my phone and typed out a message to the family group chat, the one I'd been booted from months ago. Family meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. It's about the future of our family business. Everyone needs to be there. I hit send, my heart pounding. There was no turning back now. Tomorrow, I'd expose Robert for the fraud he was. Consequences be damned. As I got ready for bed, I couldn't help I felt a mix of anxiety and determination as I prepared to drop a bombshell on my family. Sometimes you have to break things to fix them. I just hoped that when the dust settled, there would be something left to salvage. The day of the family meeting arrived, and I felt like I was going into battle. As I walked into Grandma's old house, now Uncle Robert's, the chatter died down. All eyes were on me. Well, look who decided to grace us with her presence, Aunt Karen sneered. I took a deep breath. Thanks for coming, everyone. I know you're wondering why I called this meeting. Uncle Robert stood up, feigning concern. Miriam dear, if this is about the inheritance, I cut him off. It's about the future of our family business and your crimes. The room erupted into chaos. I raised my voice to be heard over the din. I have proof that Uncle Robert has been embezzling money from the family business for years. I began laying out the evidence, financial records, witness statements, recordings. With each revelation, the color drained from Robert's face. This is preposterous, he sputtered. You can't believe this gold digger. But the proof was irrefutable. I played a recording of Robert discussing his plans to sell the business. You were going to sell our legacy? Dad's voice was barely a whisper. Robert made a dash for the door, but it burst open before he could reach it. 2 police officers walked in. Robert Johnson, you're under arrest for embezzlement and fraud. As they led him away in handcuffs, the room fell silent. Then all hell broke loose. Aunt Karen was the first to approach me, tears in her eyes. Miriam, I'm so sorry. We had no idea. I held up a hand. Save it, Aunt Karen. I'm glad the truth is out, but I can't forget how quickly you all turned on me. One by one, relatives came up to apologize, asking for help, jobs, money, you name it. I'm sorry, but no, I said firmly. I'm not here to be your safety net. I will, however, help salvage the family business. I'll work with Sarah and anyone else who treated me decently, but this is a professional courtesy, nothing more. As the dust settled and people filed out, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had done what I came to do. Weeks passed, and news of Robert's arrest spread. Our family became the talk of the town, but I was done with the drama. James and I sat on our patio, enjoying a quiet evening. You know I'm proud of you, he said, squeezing my hand. You stood up for what's right, even when it was hard. I smiled, feeling at peace for the first time in months. Thanks, babe. I couldn't have done it without you. So what now? He asked. I grinned. Well, CFO, I think it's time we took that vacation we've been talking about. How does Bali sound? As we clinked glasses and started planning our trip, I reflected on my journey. I'd lost the family I thought I had, but I gained something far more valuable: self-respect and the strength to stand up for myself. The family business was on the mend, with Sarah at the helm and me advising from afar. Some relatives were still trying to mend fences, but I kept my distance. I had learned the hard way that blood doesn't always mean loyalty. Looking at James, I realized I had everything I needed right here. We were building our own family, one based on love and mutual respect. And as for the future, well, bring it on. I was ready for whatever came next. As the sun set on another chapter of my life, I felt nothing but excitement for the new one beginning. Sometimes you have to lose what you thought you wanted to find what you really need. And me? I had found my happily ever after on my own terms. Now I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have forgiven your family and let them back into your life? Or would you have maintained your distance like I did? Think about it. Family is supposed to have your back, right? But what happens when they betray you? Is blood really thicker than water, or is that just something we tell ourselves? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm dying to hear what you would do in this situation. And hey, if you enjoyed this roller coaster of family drama, why not hit that like button? It helps more people find our channel. Oh, and if you want to catch more stories like this, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Hey everyone, I'm Olivia Thompson, and this is my story. Our suburban home used to be filled with the laughter of my 5-year-old daughter, Emily, and the love of my husband, Mark. At least, that's what I thought. I was thriving at work, designing spaces that people would call home for generations. My best friend and colleague, Rachel, was always by my side, cheering me on. Liv, you're going to knock their socks off with this design, Rachel said as she reviewed my latest blueprints. I smiled, feeling on top of the world. Thanks, Ra. I just hope Mark's mom doesn't find something to criticize about it. Rachel rolled her eyes. Barbara, she'd find fault with the Sistine Chapel if you designed it. We laughed, but deep down, her constant disapproval weighed on me. Just last Sunday at dinner, Barbara was at it again. Mark, darling, don't you think Emily's clothes are a bit common? I saw the cutest boutique outfits that would be much more suitable. I bit my tongue, but Mark just shrugged. Mom, Olivia knows what she's doing. Not exactly the support I hoped for, but I let it slide. That night, as I tucked Emily into bed, she looked up at me with her innocent eyes. Mommy, will you build me a castle someday? She asked. Of course, princess. The biggest, most beautiful castle you can imagine. Little did I know, our world was about to come crashing down. In the middle of the night, I woke up to the acrid smell of smoke. Panic surged through me as I realized our house was on fire. Mark, Emily, I screamed, stumbling out of bed. The hallway was filled with thick, black smoke. I heard Emily crying from her room. Mommy, I'm scared. I didn't hesitate. I ran towards her voice, the heat burning my skin. When I reached her, she was huddled in the corner, clutching her favorite teddy bear. It's okay, baby. Mommy's here. I scooped her up, shielding her with my body as we made our way back to the hallway. Suddenly, there was a deafening crack. I looked up just in time to see a beam falling from the ceiling. In that split second, I made a choice. I turned, covering Emily completely as the beam came crashing down. White-hot pain exploded across my back and head. The last thing I remember was the wail of sirens and Emily's terrified cries before everything went dark. I didn't know it then, but that moment of sacrifice would change everything. My life as I knew it was over, and a new, harder journey was just beginning. When I woke up, the first thing I noticed was the silence. Then came the pain, a dull throb across my face and eyes. I tried to open them, but there was nothing. Just darkness. Hello, is anyone there? My voice sounded weak, unfamiliar. Mrs. Thompson, you're awake, a warm but professional voice responded. I'm Dr. Alicia Reeves. How are you feeling? I can't see. Why can't I see? There was a pause, heavy with unspoken words. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Thompson. The fire caused severe damage to your eyes. We did everything we could, but you've lost your sight. The words hit me like a physical blow. Blind. How could I be blind? What about my work? My daughter? My life? Where's Mark? Where's Emily? I asked, panic rising in my throat. Your husband stepped out for a moment. Your daughter is with your friend, Rachel. Days blurred together after that. I could hear the pity in people's voices, feel their awkward attempts to comfort me. Mark barely visited, and when he did, he seemed distracted. Mark, I need you, I pleaded one day, reaching out for his hand. I'm here, Olivia, he said, but his voice was distant. I need to take care of some things at work. Mom's going to help with Emily. Barbara. Great. As if I needed her judgment on top of everything else. Rachel became my lifeline. She visited every day, bringing updates about Emily and helping me navigate this new, dark world. Liv, you're the strongest person I know, she said one day. You're going to get through this. I wasn't so sure. Simple tasks had become monumental challenges. How could I take care of Emily when I couldn't even find my way to the bathroom without help? One afternoon, I overheard two nurses gossiping outside my room. Did you see Dr. Reeves with that patient's husband again? They seem awfully close. Well, can you blame him? His wife's blind now. Dr. Reeves probably understands what he's going through better than anyone. I pushed the thought away. Mark wouldn't, would he? Barbara's visits were torture. Oh, Olivia, she'd sigh. How are you going to take care of Emily like this? Maybe it's best if Mark and I handle things for a while. I bit my tongue, anger and frustration building inside me. The one bright spot was Jake, a nurse who helped me with physical therapy. Come on, Olivia, he'd encourage. One more step. You've got this. His kindness was a balm to my battered spirit. But as the weeks passed, the pit in my stomach grew. Mark's visits became even rarer, and when he did come, Emily seemed reluctant to interact with him. Daddy, why don't we come home anymore? I overheard her ask one day. His response was muffled, but I could hear the discomfort in his voice. Something was wrong, very wrong, and I was stuck in this darkness, unable to see what was happening to my family. But I was determined to find out, even if I had to fumble my way through this new reality to do it. Little did I know, the truth would be even more painful than the darkness I was living in. That's when Rachel stepped up, becoming my eyes in more ways than one. Liv, I've been doing some digging, Rachel said one day, her voice tight with anger. Mark's been using your joint credit card for things that don't add up. My heart sank. What do you mean? Expensive jewelry, fancy restaurants, places he's never taken you. I felt sick. Maybe it's for work or maybe he's planning a surprise. Rachel sighed. Honey, I don't think so. This has been going on for weeks. Before I could process this, Jake came in, his usually cheerful voice somber. Olivia, there's something you need to know. I overheard Dr. Reeves and your husband talking. They're having an affair. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, but beneath the pain, anger started to burn. When Mark finally showed up, I was ready. Is it true? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Are you having an affair with Dr. Reeves? There was a long pause. Then, to my shock, he laughed. Actually laughed. Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag. Yes, Olivia, Alicia, and I are together. How could you? I choked out. How could you do this to me? How could I not? He snapped. Look at you, Olivia. You're blind. You can't take care of yourself, let alone Emily. Alicia understands me. She's not a burden. His words cut deeper than any knife. A burden? Is that what I am to you now? Let's be realistic, he said coldly. I'm leaving you, Olivia. I'm filing for divorce and full custody of Emily. You can't raise a child like this. You can't take my daughter. I screamed. Mom agrees with me, Mark continued. A blind woman can't be a proper mother. It's for the best. I lunged at him, my fists connecting with empty air. Get out, I yelled. Get out, you coward. After you left, I broke down. How could this be happening? How could I lose everything, my sight, my husband, and now, potentially, my daughter? But as I sat there in the darkness, something inside me hardened. No, I wouldn't let them win. I wouldn't let them take everything from me. With shaking hands, I picked up my phone. Siri, call Lisa Anderson. Lisa, my old college friend turned hotshot lawyer, picked up on the third ring. Olivia, is everything okay? Lisa, I need your help, I said, my voice cracking. I'm about to fight the battle of my life, and I need the best lawyer I know. As I explained the situation, Lisa's voice grew fierce with determination. Those bastards, she growled. Don't worry, Liv. We're going to fight this, and we're going to win. They have no idea who they're messing with. For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. Mark, Barbara, even Dr. Reeves, they thought I was weak, helpless. But they were wrong. But they were about to learn just how strong I could be. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about Emily. And I'd be damned if I let anyone take her away from me. The battle was just beginning, and I was ready for war. The day after my call with Lisa, I woke up with a fire in my belly. If they wanted a fight, I'd give them one they'd never forget. Rachel, I need your help, I said. We're going to revolutionize how I work. We spent weeks developing tactile models for my architectural designs. My fingers became my eyes, feeling every curve and angle. This is brilliant, Liv, Rachel exclaimed. You're not just adapting, you're innovating. Meanwhile, I threw myself into learning Braille and taking cooking classes for the visually impaired. The first time I made Emily's favorite mac and cheese without help, I cried happy tears. Mommy, it's yummy. Emily giggled, and my heart soared. Lisa was a force of nature, building an ironclad case against Mark. We've uncovered some interesting financial discrepancies, she said one day, and Jake's testimony about Mark's neglect at the hospital is damning. The day of the custody hearing arrived, and I stood tall, my white cane a symbol of my independence, not my weakness. Your Honor, I said, my voice steady, I may have lost my sight, but I haven't lost my ability to love and care for my daughter. I've adapted, grown stronger. Emily is my world, and I'll move heaven and earth to give her the best life possible. The judge's verdict was clear. Mrs. Thompson has demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability. It's clear that Emily's best interests lie in remaining primarily with her mother. Mark's outraged gasp was music to my ears. Months passed, and life took on a new rhythm. My tactile architectural designs gained national attention. Olivia Thompson, visionary in the dark, one headline read. Emily thrived, with Rachel and Jake providing additional support. One day, as we walked in the park, Emily squeezed my hand. Mommy, I'm glad you're my mommy, she said simply. Tears pricked my eyes. I'm glad you're my daughter, sweetheart. Later, Rachel filled me in on the karma that had hit Mark and Barbara. Mark's marriage to Dr. Reeves is over, she said with a smirk. Seems he couldn't keep it in his pants. And your old firm? They've lost major clients who can't stomach Mark's behavior. I couldn't help but smirk. And Barbara? I asked. Rachel chuckled. Let's just say her social circle isn't too fond of women who try to separate mothers from their children. She's not getting many party invitations these days. As I sat on my porch that evening, listening to Emily play in the yard, I realized something profound. Losing my sight hadn't weakened me. It had revealed a strength I never knew I possessed. Mommy, come play with me, Emily called. I smiled, rising to my feet. The darkness that had once terrified me now felt like an old friend. I had faced my challenges head-on and emerged victorious. Mark, Barbara, all the doubters, they were behind me now. My future? It was bright, filled with love, success, and the sweet sound of my daughter's laughter. I might not be able to see it with my eyes, but I could feel it in every fiber of my being. As I joined Emily in the yard, I knew one thing for certain. This was just the beginning of our beautiful, hard-won happily ever after. If you were in Olivia's position, what would you have done? Would you have fought for custody of your child despite the challenges of sudden blindness, or would you have agreed with Mark that it might be best for the child to be with a sighted parent? Hi, I'm Mia. I'm 25 and working at the Paws and Claws Animal Shelter while hustling to become a full-fledged vet. It's not glamorous, but every day I get to help animals in need, and that's what matters to me. This morning, I woke up to the familiar sound of Whispers, my tabby cat, purring on my chest. She's been with me since I was a kid, my constant companion through thick and thin. Morning, Furball, I said, scratching behind her ears. Ready for breakfast? As I poured her food, my phone buzzed. It was Sarah, my best friend since high school. Hey girl, we still on for coffee later? You bet. I replied, I need to vent about family drama. Again. At the shelter, I couldn't shake this nagging feeling about my brother Jake's latest business idea. He's always chasing these get-rich-quick schemes, and my parents just eat it up. It's like they've got blinders on when it comes to him. Later, at the coffee shop with Sarah, I finally let it all out. I swear, Sarah, if Jake asks me for money one more time, I'm going to lose it. Sarah rolled her eyes. Girl, you need to stand your ground. What about your dream of opening your own clinic? I know, but it's hard when my parents are constantly on his side. It's like I'm invisible unless they need something from me. Just then, my phone rang. Speak of the devil, it was Jake. Hey sis, got a minute? I sighed, mouthing it's him to Sarah. What's up, Jake? So I've had this amazing opportunity, he started, his voice dripping with fake enthusiasm. But I need a little capital to get it off the ground. Think you could spot me alone? I pinched the bridge of my nose, feeling a headache coming on. Jake, we've been through this. Remember the food truck fiasco, or the revolutionary juicer? This is different, I swear. It's a sure thing this time. Sorry, but no, I'm saving up for my own goals, you understand, right? The line went quiet for a moment. Yeah, whatever. I'll figure it out myself, he muttered before hanging up without saying goodbye. Sarah gave me a sympathetic look. You did the right thing, Mia. I nodded, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in my gut. That evening, I trudged up to the house, exhausted from a long day at the shelter. Whiskers, I'm home. I called out, expecting her to greet me at the door like always. But the house was eerily quiet. Whiskers, here, kitty, kitty. I searched every room, my heart racing. That's when I noticed my parents acting strange. Mom, Dad, have you seen Whiskers? They exchanged a glance that made my stomach drop. Oh, honey, my mom started, not meeting my eyes. I'm sure she's around here somewhere. Dad jumped in, a little too quickly, probably just out exploring. You know how cats are. But Whiskers was an indoor cat, she never went outside. Something was very, very wrong. What aren't you telling me? I demanded, my voice shaking. They fumbled for words, making excuses about being late for some event as they rushed out. I stood there, a horrible realization dawning on me. Whatever happened to Whiskers, my family knew about it, and judging by their behavior, it wasn't good. The next morning, I hit the streets like a woman possessed. Have you seen this cat? I must have asked 100 people, shoving Whiskers' photo in their faces, but no one had seen her. I plastered posters all over town, my hands shaking as I stapled them to telephone poles. Please somebody, anybody, I muttered, fighting back tears. After a fruitless day, I dragged myself home, praying that Whiskers had somehow magically reappeared. Instead, I walked into a shouting match. We had no choice. That was Dad's voice coming from the kitchen. No choice? You sold her cat, Jake yelled back. I froze, my blood turning to ice. Sold? They sold Whiskers? Mom's voice was pleading now. It was a necessary sacrifice. Think of the money, Jake. Think of Mia's future. I burst into the kitchen, seeing red. What the hell is going on? Where's Whiskers? The guilty looks on their faces said it all. For once, Jake looked ashamed. Mia, I can explain. Explain what? That you sold my cat. I was shaking with rage. Honey, it's not what you think, Mom started. Really? Because it sounds like you sold my best friend for cash. Jake stepped forward. Look, I messed up, okay? I owed some guy money, and this lab was offering big bucks for test subjects. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Test subjects. You sold Whiskers to a lab for experiments. Mia, sweetie, Dad chimed in. The money is going into your inheritance fund. It's for your future. My future? You think I care about money when you sent my cat to be tortured? It's not torture, it's science, Jake said, as if that made it better. I lost it. Science, it's animal cruelty. How could you do this? Mom tried to hug me, but I shoved her away. Don't touch me. You're all monsters. I ran to my room, threw some clothes in a bag, and called Sarah. Can I crash at your place? I can't stay here another minute. An hour later, I was on Sarah's couch, sobbing into a pint of ice cream. They sold him, Sarah. They sold Whiskers to a lab for money. Sarah hugged me tight. That's messed up, Mia. What are you going to do? I sat up, wiping my eyes. I'm going to find that lab, and I'm going to get Whiskers back. The next few days were a blur of research. I dug up everything I could on animal testing labs in the area. One name kept popping up: Biogenics Research Facility. I was scoping the place out when this guy approached me, tall, scruffy, and looking like he hadn't slept in days. "You looking to expose these guys too?" he asked. I eyed him suspiciously. "Who's asking?" He stuck out his hand. "Alex, investigative journalist. I've been tracking Biogenics for months. Something shady is going on in there." I shook his hand. "I'm Mia. They have my cat. I need to get him back." Alex's eyes widened. "Your cat? Damn, that's low, even for them. Listen, I think we can help each other out. I got some leads, but I need someone on the inside. You in?" I looked at the towering Biogenics building, thinking of Whiskers, scared and alone inside. "I'm in. Whatever it takes." Alex and I hit the ground running, like some twisted version of Batman and Robin. If Batman was a sleep-deprived journalist and Robin was a pissed-off vet assistant. One night, Alex was hunched over his laptop. "Your brother's into some seriously shady stuff, Mia. I've been digging, and it's not just the cat thing. He's neck-deep in insider trading, tax evasion, you name it, he's probably done it." I felt sick. God, I knew he was a screw-up. But this is next level. "We can use this," Alex mused. "Leverage against the lab. But first, we need eyes inside." That's how I found myself mopping floors at Biogenics, wearing an itchy janitor's uniform and trying not to gag at the smell. "Just act natural," I kept telling myself, snapping discreet photos with a hidden camera whenever I could. One night, I hit the jackpot. I overheard two scientists talking. "The latest batch isn't responding well to the treatment. Up the dosage, we need results before the FDA inspection." "But the side effects, not our problem. Just do it." I felt my blood boil. These people didn't care about the animals at all. Then I saw him, Whiskers in a cage, looking so small and scared. I wanted to grab him and run, but I knew I couldn't. Not yet. I had to play the long game. "I'm so sorry, buddy," I whispered. "I'll get you out of here, I promise." Weeks passed. Alex and I built our case, piece by damning piece. Photos, recordings, financial records. We had it all. "This is it, Mia," Alex said, holding up a flash drive. "Everything we need to bring these bastards down." We sent anonymous tips to every news outlet and law enforcement agency we could think of. Then we waited. While we waited for the hammer to fall on Biogenics, I decided it was time for a family chat. I stormed into my parents' house and slapped a folder of evidence on the kitchen table. "You want to know what your precious Jake's really been up to?" I snarled. "Tax fraud, insider trading, selling animals for illegal experiments. He's going down, and he might drag you down with him." Mom's face went pale. Dad stuttered. "Now, Mia, I'm sure there's an explanation." "An explanation? Are you kidding me? He sold my cat, he's been breaking the law left and right, and you're still defending him." "He's family," Mom said weakly. I laughed bitterly. "Family? You want to talk about family? I'm your daughter too, remember?" As I stormed out, I heard Mom start to cry. Part of me wanted to turn back to comfort her, but a bigger part knew this was long overdue. They had made their bed, and now they had to lie in it. Back at Sarah's, I paced nervously. What if it's not enough, Alex? What if they get away with it? Alex put a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "They won't. Trust me, Mia, the truth always comes out." I nodded, trying to believe him. As the sun set, I stared out the window, thinking of Whiskers and all the other animals still trapped in that lab. "Hang in there, guys," I whispered. "Justice is coming." The day of the raid, I was a bundle of nerves. Alex and I watched from across the street as cop cars and animal control vans swarmed Biogenics. It was chaos. "Miss, you can't go in there," an officer shouted as I rushed toward the building. "My cat's in there," I yelled back, ducking under the police tape. Inside it was pandemonium. Scientists were being cuffed, animals were howling. And in the middle of it all, I heard a familiar meow. "Whiskers," I cried, spotting him in his cage. I scooped him up, holding him close. "I've got you, buddy. You're safe now." As I helped rescue other animals, I saw Jake being led out in handcuffs. Mia, he called out. Tell them this is a mistake. I stared at him coldly. The only mistake was trusting you, Jake. The fallout was brutal. Jake's arrest was all over the news, along with his laundry list of crimes. My parents' phones rang off the hook with reporters and angry business associates. I overheard Mom on the phone one day. No, please, we had no idea. Of course, we're still good for the investment. Hello, the family business tanked. Former friends crossed the street to avoid my parents. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. Meanwhile, I had my hands full. The settlement from Biogenics was substantial, and I knew exactly what to do with it. Mia's Miracle Animal Sanctuary. Sarah read the sign as we stood in front of the sprawling property. It's perfect, Mia. I grinned, watching the rescued animals roam freely. It's a new start for all of us. Later that night, I sat on the porch with Whiskers purring in my lap. I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the fight for justice, the hard choices I'd had to make. We did it, Whiskers, I said softly, scratching behind his ears. We made it through. As I looked out over the sanctuary, at all the animals we'd saved, a sense of peace washed over me. This was where I belonged. This was my real family now. Sure, the road had been tough. There were days I doubted everything. But sitting here, surrounded by the fruits of our labor, I knew it had all been worth it. Mia's journey through betrayal and triumph has come to an end. Now I have a question for you. If you were in Mia's shoes, would you ever forgive your family for betraying your trust and selling your beloved pet, even if they claimed it was for your future benefit? Or do you believe some actions are truly unforgivable? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hey there, I'm Catherine. I'm 25, still living at home, and my life feels like it's on an endless loop. My sister Melissa watches over me like I'm fragile, and my parents, they treat me like I'm forever 5. Catherine, honey, did you take your meds? Mom's voice floats up the stairs for what feels like the millionth time today. Yes, Mom, I call back, rolling my eyes. My mind drifts to when Melissa and I were kids, inseparable, always giggling and sharing secrets. But somewhere along the way, things changed. Melissa became the golden child, and me, I became the family project. Time for your checkup, sis, Melissa says, popping her head into my room. She's always here, always watching. Sometimes I wonder if she has a life outside of monitoring mine. Do we have to go today? I groan, but it's no use. Before I know it, we're sitting in Dr. Sanders' office, and he's frowning at me like I'm a puzzle he can't solve. How are you feeling, Catherine? He asks, concern etched into his face. Fine, I mutter. It doesn't matter what I say, he always finds something to worry about. Later, I'm staring out my bedroom window, watching the world go by. People my age are out there living, working, gating. And me? I'm stuck in this gilded cage, dreaming of a life that feels out of reach. Hey, new neighbor alert. Melissa's voice snaps me back to reality. I look out the window and see a guy around my age unloading boxes from a moving truck. Why don't you go say hi? Mom suggests, and I almost fall over in shock. Is she actually encouraging me to interact with someone? Heart pounding, I step outside. The guy looks up and flashes a friendly smile. Hi there, I'm Alex. Just moved in. I'm Catherine. I managed to say, surprised at how easy it feels to talk to him. Nice to meet you, Catherine. So any good coffee shops around here? I'm dying for a decent latte. For a second, I'm at a loss. I don't know much about the neighborhood I've lived in my whole life. But instead of retreating, something sparks inside me. You know what? I have no idea, but I'd love to find out. Maybe we could explore together sometime. Alex's face lights up. That'd be awesome. How about this weekend? As I walk back inside, my mind buzzes with possibilities. For the first time in forever, I feel a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, there's more to life than doctor visits and concerned glances. Little did I know, that simple conversation was about to change everything. But that's a story for another day. Stick around, because trust me, things are about to get really interesting. I've been feeling better lately, kind of weird, considering I'm supposed to be this delicate, fragile thing. One night, I sneak onto my laptop and start Googling my symptoms. What I find doesn't add up. Hey, Catherine, what are you doing? Melissa's voice startles me. I slam the laptop shut. Nothing. Just checking emails. She narrows her eyes but doesn't push. As she leaves, I overhear her on the phone with Mom. I don't care if the bills are piling up. Catherine needs that new treatment. Figure it out. My stomach turns. Are they struggling because of me? Later, I'm chatting with Alex over the fence. You should join our book club, he suggests. We're reading To Kill a Mockingbird next week. My heart races at the thought. I don't know if I can. Come on, live a little. It's just down the street at the library. Against my better judgment, I agree. The night of the book club feels like I'm breaking out of prison. But just as I'm about to leave, Melissa blocks my path. And where do you think you're going? Book club. Mom said I could go. Her face tightens. Fine, but be back in an hour. And take your meds before you leave. At the library, I'm nervous at first, but soon I'm lost in the discussion. It feels so normal, so freeing. When I get home, Melissa is pacing. Where have you been? It's been 2 hours. Sorry we lost track of time. It was fun though. Melissa mutters something about irresponsibility and setbacks. But I don't care. For once, I tasted freedom. But I'm too happy to care. The next day, we have an appointment with a new doctor, Dr. Martinez. She frowns as she reviews my charts. This doesn't make sense, she mumbles. Catherine, have you ever been tested for? Melissa interrupts, her voice firm. Dr. Martinez, perhaps we should discuss this privately. As they step out of the room, I notice my pill organizer sitting on the counter. Curiosity gets the better of me and I open it up. Some pills look familiar, but others I don't recognize. I Google the markings and nearly drop my phone. They're just vitamins and some are even sugar pills. What's going on? I whisper to myself, my heart pounding. Just then, Melissa and Dr. Martinez return. Melissa's face is flushed and she's gripping her purse so tightly her knuckles are white. We won't be coming back here, Melissa announces, her voice sharp. Dr. Martinez clearly isn't familiar enough with your case. Dr. Martinez looks like she wants to say something, but before she can, Melissa practically drags me out of the office. On the drive home, my mind is racing. The inconsistent symptoms, the financial struggles, the fake pills, something isn't right. I'm starting to think that my supposed fragile health might be the biggest lie of all. You okay, sis? Melissa asks, glancing at me as she grips the steering wheel. You look a little pale. Maybe we should cancel your plans with Alex this weekend. For the first time, I hear the control in her voice. And for the first time, I push back. No, I'm fine, and I'm going. Melissa's jaw clenches, but she doesn't argue. As we pull into the driveway, I make a silent bow to myself. I'm going to figure out what's really going on, no matter what it takes. I can't take it anymore. I have to tell someone. Later, Alex and I are at the park, and the words tumble out before I can stop them. I think my sister's been lying about my health for years. Alex's eyes widen. That's heavy. What makes you think that? I spill everything. The fake pills, the inconsistent symptoms, Dr. Martinez's confusion. Alex listens, then says, let's dig deeper. My cousin's great with computers. Maybe he can help us look into Dr. Sanders. A week later, Alex shows me what they found. Dr. Sanders isn't just a family doctor, Alex says grimly. He was Melissa's professor in med school. My blood runs cold. That can't be a coincidence. There's more, Alex continues. He lost his license to practice as a GP years ago. He shouldn't be treating you at all. That night, I pretend to be asleep when I hear Melissa on the phone. Dr. Sanders, we have a problem. That new doctor was asking too many questions. No, I handled it, but we need to be careful. Yes, I'll make sure Catherine stays isolated. We can't risk her finding out. My hands shake as I stop the recording. It's all true, my own sister. The next day, I sneak into Melissa's room and find a hidden folder, bank statements, forged prescriptions, and worst of all, a journal detailing her plans to keep me dependent. Oh my God, I whisper, the full extent of her betrayal sinking in. I take photos of everything and rush to Dr. Martinez's office. I knew something was off, she says, examining the evidence. This is serious, Catherine. We need to report this. I'm scared, I admit. Melissa's all I've ever known. Dr. Martinez squeezes my hand. You're stronger than you think, and you're not alone. Later, Alex introduces me to his sister, Rachel. I'm a lawyer, she explains. What Melissa's done is highly illegal. We can build a solid case, but you need to be prepared for the fallout. I nod, determination replacing fear. I'm ready. That evening, my parents return from their trip. My hands are sweating as I approach them. Mom, Dad, we need to talk. It's about Melissa. Dad frowns. What about her? I take a deep breath. She's been lying to us. About everything. I lay out the evidence, the recordings, the documents, Dr. Martinez's statement. Mom starts crying, and Dad's face turns ashen. How could she do this? Mom sobs. I don't know, I say, my own tears falling. But it stops now. Just then, the front door opens. Melissa walks in, freezing when she sees us all gathered. What's going on? She asks, her eyes darting between us. Dad stands up, his voice shaking. Melissa, we need to talk. As the truth spills out, I watch my sister's carefully constructed web of lies crumble. For the first time in my life, I feel truly free. As Melissa breaks down, begging for forgiveness, I realize this is just the beginning. The road ahead will be tough, but for once, I'm not afraid. I'm ready to live my life, my real life, no matter what comes next. The living room feels like a courtroom as I lay out the evidence. Mom is crying, Dad is pacing, and Melissa is desperately trying to explain it all away. You don't understand, Melissa pleads. I was protecting her. Dad slants his hand on the table. By lying? By stealing from us. Melissa turns to me, her eyes wide, filled with desperation. Catherine, you know I love you. Everything I did was for your own good. I shake my head. No, Melissa. It was for you, always for you. Next, we confront Dr. Sanders. He crumbles faster than a sandcastle at high tide. It was supposed to be temporary, he mumbles. Melissa promised funding for my research if I helped. I never meant for it to go this far. Mom looks at me, her face a mix of guilt and determination. What do you want to do, sweetheart? For the first time in my life, I feel truly in control. I want to live my life, my real life. Rachel, Alex's lawyer sister, helps us build a rock-solid case. As we go through the process, I feel stronger every day. You're doing great, Alex tells me one afternoon. How about we celebrate with some coffee? I know a great little place downtown. I smile, realizing I'm no longer afraid to explore the world. Sounds perfect. Moving day arrives faster than I expected. As I pack up my room, memories flood back, both good and bad. Need any help? Dad asks from the doorway. I nod, fighting back tears. I'm sorry for all of this, Dad. He pulls me into a hug. No, sweetheart. We're sorry. We should have seen what was happening. But we're going to make it right. 6 months later, I'm sipping coffee at my favorite cafe, scrolling through my phone, when a news alert catches my eye. Melissa's been arrested, not for what she did to me, but for fraud at her new job. Old habits die hard, I guess, I mutter. Everything okay? Alex asks, sliding into the seat across from me. I show him the article, Melissa's going to jail. How do you feel about that? I pause, considering. Relieved, I think, and a little sad, but mostly free. Just then, my phone buzzes with a text from Melissa. I'm so sorry, Catherine. Can we talk? I want to make things right. I stare at the message for a long moment before deleting it. Some bridges, once burned, should stay that way. You know, I say to Alex, I think I'm ready for that adventure we talked about. How does a road trip sound? Alex grins. Sounds perfect. Where to? I laugh, feeling lighter than I have in years. Anywhere. Everywhere. Let's just go and see where the road takes us. As we leave the cafe, I can't help but smile. My life isn't perfect. There's still therapy to work through, trust to rebuild with my parents, and a whole world to explore. But for the first time, it's truly mine. And that's all that matters. Ready? Alex asks, car keys in hand. I take a deep breath, savoring the moment. Ready. As we drive off, the future stretches out before us like an open road, and I can't wait to see where it leads. Catherine's journey to freedom and truth has come to an end. Now we turn to you. If you were in Catherine's shoes, would you ever forgive Melissa for her years of manipulation and deceit? Or is some betrayal too deep for reconciliation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hey there, I'm Jarma, a 32-year-old translator living in the heart of New York City. Life's been a wild ride since I left the Czech Republic as a teenager. I've worked my way up, hustling to build a career I'm proud of, translating for bigwigs at the UN and Fortune 500 companies. Babe, have you seen my lucky tie? That's my husband, Michael, calling from the bedroom. He's the sweetest guy. A dedicated elementary school teacher who can wrangle a room full of hyperactive kids, but can never seem to find his own clothes. Check the laundry basket. I shout back, rolling my eyes with a smile. Moments later, Michael pops his head out, grinning. What would I do without you, Jarma? Probably show up to school with mismatched socks, I tease. Our apartment isn't anything fancy, but it's filled with love and laughter, something my brother Victor never really understood. Right on cue, my phone buzzes. It's a text from Victor. Don't forget, baby sis, engagement party this Saturday. Wear something presentable. I groan and show the message to Michael. Can you believe him? Michael sighs. Your brother's a piece of work. Are you sure you want to go? I shrug. He's still family, right? Besides, I've got to meet this Olivia he's marrying. Poor girl probably has no idea what she's getting into. Olivia Prescott. Michael raises an eyebrow. Isn't her family, like, ridiculously rich? Yep, I doubt Victor's marrying for love, I mutter. Victor's always been jealous of my success. Sure, he's got this big shot finance job, but he's never been satisfied. Every family dinner turns into some competition. Remember last Thanksgiving? Michael says as he adjusts his tie in the mirror. I groan. How could I forget? Of Jarma still playing telephone operator for a living. I mimic Victor's condescending tone. And then he had the nerve to call teachers glorified babysitters. Michael's expression falters for a moment, and I wrap my arms around him. Hey, you're changing lives. Victor wouldn't last 5 minutes in your classroom. Michael smiles and kisses my forehead. Thanks, babe. So what's the game plan for Saturday? I sigh, flopping onto our worn-out couch. Smile, nod, and try not to punch my brother in his smug face. Solid plan, Michael chuckles. Want me to fake food poisoning so we can bail early? I laugh but then pause. Maybe we should give it a real shot, for Mom and Dad's sake, at least. Michael raises an eyebrow. You sure? Last time we tried to keep the peace, Victor accidentally spilled wine all over me. I know, I groan. But he's getting married. Maybe he'll finally grow up. Michael snorts, and maybe pigs will fly. Later, as I lay out our outfits for the engagement party, I can't help but wonder if I'm making a mistake. But family's family, right? Even when they're a pain in the ass. The night of Victor's engagement party finally arrives, and I find myself nervously smoothing down my dress in the mirror of some swanky club bathroom. Michael and I had gone back and forth on whether we should even show up. In the end, we decided to make an appearance, family obligations, and all that. You look beautiful, Michael said as I stepped out of the bathroom. He looked handsome in his suit, though he kept nervously tugging at his collar. Thanks, babe. Ready to face the lion's den? I asked, taking his hand. We made our way through the crowded club, nodding at acquaintances while searching for familiar faces. The place was packed with Victor's finance bros and Olivia's socialite friends. Michael and I stuck out like sore thumbs. There's the happy couple, I muttered, spotting Victor and Olivia holding court near the bar. As we approached, Victor's eyes narrowed slightly. Well, the teacher and the translator decided to grace us with their presence after all. I forced a smile. Wouldn't miss it, brother dear. Congratulations, Olivia. Draped in designer labels, Olivia gave us a once-over. How quaint. Victor, darling, aren't you going to introduce me properly? Victor waved a dismissive hand. My sister, Jarma, and her husband. Mike, was it? Michael, I corrected through gritted teeth. Right. Well, mingle, enjoy yourselves. Open bar and all that, Victor said, already turning away. Michael squeezed my hand. Deep breaths jar. We just have to make it through tonight. We circulated through the party, making small talk and dodging backhanded compliments. I was just starting to think we might actually survive the evening when I overheard Victor's voice coming from a nearby VIP area. Can you believe my sister actually married that loser? An elementary school teacher. Talk about settling. I froze, my blood turning to ice. Across the room, Michael was chatting with someone, blissfully unaware of what was being said. Why do you even invite them, man? One of Victor's friends asked. Victor's laugh was sharp and cruel. Are you kidding? It's hilarious. Plus, I get to show everyone what a charitable big brother I am, taking care of the family charity case. That was it. Fury burning in my chest, I stormed into the VIP area. What the hell did you just say about my husband? Victor's eyes widened briefly before his signature smirk returned. Eavesdropping, little sister. How rude. No, what's rude is insulting the people you supposedly care about behind their backs, I snapped. Oh, come on, can't take a joke. Victor swayed slightly as he stood. Everyone knows Michael's not good enough for you. Hell, you're barely good enough for this family. The words hit like a slap. Excuse me? You heard me, Victor sneered. Little Jarma, always trying to prove herself, playing translator while the rest of us do real work. It's pathetic, really. I saw red. You arrogant, self-centered piece off. Everything okay over here? Michael's voice cut through the tension. He must have noticed the commotion. Victor's grin turned predatory. Oh look, it's the glorified babysitter. Tell me, Mike, how does it feel knowing you'll never be able to provide for my sister the way she deserves? Michael's face fell, and something inside me snapped. That's it. We're leaving. And you know what? Don't expect us at your wedding. I'm done trying to please you, Victor. I grabbed Michael's hand and started to walk away, but Victor's words followed us. Running away again, Jarmella? Typical. You were always a disappointment. The drive home was silent, tears streaming down my face as Michael stared blankly out the window. When we finally got to our apartment, the dam broke. I'm so sorry, I sobbed. You didn't deserve any of that. Michael pulled me into his arms. It's not your fault, Jar. Your brother's always been an ass. I can't believe I kept giving him chances, I said, wiping my eyes. No more. I'm done with him. Over the next few days, my phone blew up with messages from Victor, each one more manipulative than the last. Come on, sis. I was drunk. You know I didn't mean it. Mom's heartbroken you're not coming to the wedding. How could you do this to the family? Stop being so dramatic. It was just a joke. I deleted every single one. No more second chances. No more toxic family drama. It was time to put myself and Michael first, no matter what anyone else thought. The fallout from Victor's bachelor party was nuclear. I dreaded making the call to my parents, but I knew I had to stand my ground. As I dialed their number, my stomach churned. Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you about Victor's wedding. I started, my voice shaking slightly. Oh, honey, we're so excited. Mom gushed. Have you picked out your dress yet? I took a deep breath. Actually, that's what I need to tell you. Michael and I won't be attending. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then Dad's voice came through, low and angry. What do you mean you're not attending? He's your brother. I explained what had happened at the bachelor party, my voice growing stronger with each word. But it didn't matter. They weren't listening. You must have misunderstood, Mom insisted. Victor would never say such things. Your brother is under a lot of stress, Dad added. You need to be more understanding. I hung up, feeling defeated, but Michael's supportive smile reminded me why I was doing this. We were in this together. Over the next few weeks, the family grapevine exploded. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly had strong opinions about my life choices. Aunt Marta called to tell me I was being selfish, while Uncle Pavel sent a long-winded email about the importance of family. It wasn't until my cousin Petra reached out that I realized just how bad it had gotten. Jarma, what's this I hear about you being jealous of Victor's success? And that Michael lost his job. My blood boiled. Victor had been busy, spreading lies to make himself look better. I set Petra straight, but the damage was done. It felt like the entire family had turned against us. Fine. If that's how they wanted to play it, I'd show them what success really looked like. I threw myself into my work, staying late at the office and taking on extra projects. When a prestigious interpreting position opened up at the UN, I went after it with everything I had. The day I got the offer, I burst into our apartment, waving a letter. Michael, I got it. He scooped me up into a bear hug, spinning me around. I knew you would, babe. You're incredible. As I settled into my new role, Michael was making waves of his own. He developed an innovative teaching program that combined music and math, and the kids were eating it up. Suddenly, the school board was taking notice. One night, as we celebrated with takeout and cheap champagne, Michael's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then did a double take. Holy, what is it? I asked, my mouth full of low mean. He showed me the email. The state education department wanted to implement his program across multiple districts. There was even talk of a grant, maybe even a book deal. Look at us, I laughed, clinking my plastic cup against his. The loser translator and the glorified babysitter, taking over the world. As Victor's wedding day approached, we packed our bags for a well-deserved vacation. Let them have their drama. We were headed for a week of sun, sand, and not giving a damn about family politics. We were sipping cocktails on the beach when my phone pinged with a text from Petra. OMG, you won't believe what happened at the wedding. Curiosity got the better of me, so I called her back, and the story came tumbling out. Apparently, Victor had gotten wasted and caused a scene at the reception. He ranted about ungrateful sisters and worthless brothers-in-law, airing all the family's dirty laundry in front of Olivia's horrified relatives. It was a disaster drama, Petra said. Half the family left early, and Olivia looked like she wanted to murder him. I felt a twinge of satisfaction, quickly followed by guilt. I didn't want to be the kind of person who took pleasure in someone else's misfortunes, but I couldn't deny the sense of justice. The story's over, but I want to hear from you. Was I right to cut ties with Victor, or should family always come first, no matter what? Share your thoughts in the comments. Hi, I'm Hazel. You won't believe what I'm about to share. I've always been a bookworm, and as a literature professor at the local community college, I've turned that passion into a career. But my true pride and joy? My rare book collection. Over the years, I've gathered a treasure trove of first editions, signed copies, you name it. It's worth over $200,000 now. I like to joke with my husband Mark that it's our retirement plan. One evening, I carefully unwrapped a new package. "Honey, come look at this," I called out. "It's a first edition Hemingway." Mark wandered in, smiling. "Another one for the Hazel Thompson Library, huh?" he teased. "You bet. Thanks for always supporting my obsession." He kissed my cheek. "Hey, it makes you happy. And who knows? Maybe it'll pay for Ethan's college someday." Our 18-year-old son, Ethan, sprawled on the couch, buried in his phone. "Mom, Dad, can we talk about college? Tuition's due soon." I glanced at Mark. "Don't worry, sweetie. We've been saving for years. It's all taken care of." Later that week, I met my best friend, Lisa, for coffee. She stirred her latte, giving me a look. "I don't know how you do it, Hazel. Balancing work, family, and that incredible collection." I shrugged. "It's not easy, but it's worth it." "Oh, did I tell you? Mark's brother Tom and his son Jake are coming over for dinner tonight." Lisa rolled her eyes. "Jake, the entrepreneur. What's his latest get-rich-quick scheme?" "Who knows?" I sighed. But Mark gets so excited about Jake's ideas. I just hope he doesn't rope us into investing again. That evening, as I set the table, Jake launched into his pitch. "Uncle Mark, Aunt Hazel, you've got to hear about this new crypto platform I'm developing. It's going to be huge." Tom beamed. My boy's got a real knack for business. This could be his big break. I caught Mark's eye, silently pleading with him not to get carried away. He gave me a reassuring nod. As we cleared the dishes, Ethan chimed in. "Mom, can we go over my class schedule? I'm so excited to start college." "Of course, honey, I'm excited too. Your future is bright and will support you every step of the way." Little did I know, everything was about to unravel. My beloved books, my son's future, my trust in my husband. But that's a story for another day. For now, I was just Hazel Thompson, literature professor and rare book enthusiast, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing on the horizon. I couldn't wait to get home after the conference. It had been great, but I missed my family. As I approached the house, I heard Mark's voice through the open window. He sounded excited. "Yeah, the books are all boxed up and ready to go. Hazel's entire collection. It's going to be a gold mine for Jake's startup." My heart stopped. I fumbled with my keys and burst through the door. I found Mark in his office. "What do you mean my books are boxed up?" My voice shook. Mark's face went pale. "Hazel, you're home early. Answer me, Mark. What's going on with my books?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I sold them. All of them." The room started spinning. "You did what?" "Jake's crypto platform. It's a sure thing. We're going to be rich." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You sold my entire collection, without even asking me, for Jake's latest harebrained scheme." It's not harebrained, Hazel. This is different. He looked desperate. I know you're upset. Upset? I'm beyond upset, Mark. Those books were my life's work. I shouted, my voice cracking with disbelief. Then a horrible thought struck me. Wait, how much did you invest? Mark wouldn't meet my eyes. Well, all of it, and a bit more. A cold wave of panic washed over me. What do you mean, a bit more, Mark? He mumbled something I couldn't make out. Speak up, my voice trembled. He finally blurted it out. Ethan's college fund, okay? I invested Ethan's college fund too. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. You use our son's future for Jake's crypto nonsense. It's not nonsense. It's going to pay off, Hazel. You'll see. We'll make back 10 times what we invested. I was beyond furious. Get the books back. Now. Mark shook his head, his face pale. I can't. The sales are final. They've already been shipped to buyers across the country. Just then, Ethan walked in, his face confused. Mom? Dad? Why are you yelling? I looked at Mark. Tell him, I demanded. Mark hesitated, then explained what he'd done. Ethan's face crumpled. My college fund. It's gone. I pulled him into a tight hug, glaring at Mark over Ethan's shoulder. We'll figure something out, honey. I promise. But Dad said it's a sure thing, Ethan whispered, his voice muffled against me. Right, Dad? Mark nodded eagerly. Absolutely. Jake's business is going to solve everything. You'll see. I'd never felt so betrayed. Mark, you've crossed a line. You've gambled with our son's future, and you've destroyed something that meant the world to me. Hazel, please, just give it a chance. In a few months, we'll be laughing about this. I shook my head, my heart breaking. No, Mark, we won't, because I don't know how I can ever trust you again. Are you sure about this? Lisa asked as she helped me unpack in her spare room. I don't have a choice, Lisa, I said, sighing. I can't stay with him after what he did. Ethan trudged in, carrying another box. Mom, where are we going to live? I hugged him tight. We'll figure it out, honey. For now, we're staying with Aunt Lisa. The next day, I met with Rachel, my lawyer friend, at a cafe. Hazel, I'm so sorry this happened to you, she said, looking over my documents. You have grounds for divorce, and we can pursue financial recovery, but it won't be easy. I nodded, fighting back tears. I know, I just need to focus on Ethan's future now. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into work. I took on extra classes, started tutoring, anything to make enough money to cover Ethan's college expenses. One night, unable to sleep, I started a blog about rare books. I poured my heart into it, sharing my knowledge and the story of my lost collection. Mom, Ethan peeked into my room. You okay? I smiled weakly. Just working on my blog, sweetie. Go back to sleep. To my surprise, the blog took off. Book lovers from all over the world reached out with messages of support and sympathy. You won't believe this, I told Lisa over coffee. My blog's gone viral. People are sharing their own stories of lost treasures. Lisa grinned. See, you're turning this nightmare into something positive. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Mark. Hazel, please. Jake's business, it's not going well. I made a mistake. Can we talk about reconciling? I took a deep breath. No, Mark. What you did, it's not something we can come back from. But I can make it right, I promise. Goodbye, Mark. I hung up, my hands shaking. Lisa squeezed my arm. You okay? I nodded. I will be. A few days later, I received an email from a man named David, a wealthy book collector who'd been following my blog. Dear Hazel, it read, your passion for rare books is evident. I'd like to offer you a job curating my private library. The salary would be substantial enough to support you and your son's education. I couldn't believe it. Lisa, look at this. She read over my shoulder, her eyes widening. Hazel, this is amazing. Are you going to take it? I looked at Ethan, who was studying at the kitchen table. What do you think, honey? Ready for a new adventure? He grinned. As long as we're together, Mom, I'm ready for anything. As I drafted my response to David, I felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in weeks. My beloved books were gone, but maybe, just maybe, this was the start of a new chapter in our lives. Dear David, I typed, I would be honored to accept your offer. Mom, I got an A on my first college paper. Ethan's voice rang out as he burst into our new apartment. I beamed with pride. That's fantastic, honey. I knew you could do it. It had been 6 months since our world turned upside down. But things were finally looking up. My blog had become a go-to resource for rare book enthusiasts, and my job curating David's library was a dream come true. As I prepared for a small celebration I was hosting that evening, my phone buzzed. It was Lisa. "Hazel, have you heard the news about Mark?" My stomach tightened. "No, what happened?" "Jake's crypto thing. It was a Ponzi scheme. The feds are investigating." I sat down stunned. "What about Mark?" "He's not directly implicated in the fraud," but Lisa hesitated. "Hazel, they found out he's been embezzling from his company to fund Jake's ventures. He's lost his job and might face charges." A whirlwind of emotions hit me: shock, anger, and strangely, a small sense of vindication. I don't know what to say. "You okay?" Lisa asked gently. I took a deep breath. "Yeah, I think so. Thanks for letting me know." Later that evening, as my guests arrived, Ethan, Lisa, and my new colleagues from the book world, I couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed. To new beginnings, I toasted, raising my glass. "And to you, Hazel," David added, smiling. "Your blog and your work have been invaluable to the rare book community." I smiled, thinking about the literacy program I had donated to with my first paycheck. I just hope I can help others discover the joy of reading, even if my own collection is gone. As the night wore on, conversation flowed freely. We laughed, shared stories, and discussed future projects. Looking around at the people around me, my son, my best friend, and my new colleagues, I felt a warmth I hadn't experienced in a long time. When the last guest had left, Ethan helped me clean up. "Mom," he said, his face serious, "I'm really proud of you. You know that, right?" Tears pricked my eyes. "Thanks, sweetie. I'm proud of us both." As I got ready for bed that night, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at me was different from the one I'd been 6 months ago. Stronger, more confident. Yes, I'd lost my precious books, but I gained something far more valuable: self-respect, true friends, and a brighter future for myself and my son. The betrayal, painful as it was, had led me down a path of personal and professional growth I might never have discovered otherwise. As I drifted off to sleep, a sense of peace washed over me. Tomorrow was a new day, full of possibilities. For the first time in a long time, I was excited to see what it would bring. The story of Hazel, Mark, and their family has come to an end. Now, I have a question for you. If you were in Hazel's shoes, would you ever be able to forgive Mark for selling your prized possessions and gambling away your child's future? Or do you believe some betrayals are simply unforgivable, no matter the circumstances or promises of change? Share your thoughts in the comments below.